Hello, I'm Lise Colucci. I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Sorry, it's really dark today. I don't know why my light's off, but whatever. Okay, hi. So today we're going to talk about covert narcissism. Before we start, if you have any questions or anything that you need regarding narcissistic abuse recovery, head over to queenbeing.com, where there's lots of information and links to all sorts of things that you might need over there to help you recover and heal from narcissistic abuse. If you have not done so, hit subscribe if you enjoy these videos. I come on live several times a week, and I'm here to answer any questions or help you with anything that you might need regarding recovering from narcissistic abuse in general. So, okay, let's start with 20 signs of covert narcissism. This isn't the only 20 signs. There's a lot of signs of covert narcissism. These are just 20 things that you might see in a covert narcissist. So, number one, we know what number one is when it comes to covert narcissism. It's the lack of empathy. So, obviously, all narcissists lack empathy, but it can look a little different with a covert narcissist. It can look like empathy. It can look like they care about things, people, situations. It can look like they are compassionate, but really when it comes down to it, it's all self-referential. It's all it's their turning it back towards self. So the things that what looks like they have empathy for are things that they've experienced themselves or that they can directly relate to often, or they've learned the words to say to make it sound like they have empathy. Hi, Junae. She says selfish. That's right. Hi, Butterfly Mama. How are you? And Karina and Frankendoll. Hello. So lack of empathy is number one. Number two, it's a passive self-importance. So I'm going to have to bring this closer to my eyeballs here. It's saying it's backhanded compliments and obvious minimizing of accomplishments so that they will get what? They're fishing for compliments, right? It's a passive, like there's the self-importance is there, but it's passive. It's like hidden and disguised as modesty almost, or of the minimizing of their accomplishments. Like I said, hello, anime. Up until a year ago, I would have sworn my mom was the most empathic person I knew. Wow. Now that my eyes are open, it's frightening. And if you have any examples of any like little specific things of how the empathy looked and what it actually was, that'd be awesome. Because I'm like, what? How to describe that? I've watched it, but without an actual, it's good to hear it. Anyway, hi, Daniel. Happy Parasite-Free Tuesday. Okay, so another number three, blame and shame. They usually use a lot of word salad and gaslighting to shift the blame onto other people and make themselves the victim, right? Or they shame you for what you said. How dare you? You are the most whatever. You are, they use words to make it that you are this terrible person and shame you into all for nothing, usually, for asking for some understanding around a situation that to them feels negative about them. All right. She needed anime saying she needed me to be a low, and then she could be the hero. At a low, and then she could be the hero. I was less threatening when I was suffering. Ooh, that's a perfect way. They set up situations or push you into a corner, or they feed off your lows to make themselves look like a hero because they swoop in to save you. Or they say the right things, or they look like they have all this empathy because they're so kind and caring and they listen and they do all these wonderful things for you. But as soon as you're not suffering, you are no longer needed for that purpose. All right? Okay. They make you say, I'm sorry all the time, says Janae. Always speaking softly, but like a serpent in the garden, smooth and calm, but the content of what she was saying was actually cutting me down for being considerate or being condescending. Exactly. Yes. Sneaky. It's sneaky and it's covert. Well, I mean, let's talk about what is a covert narcissist. It's a more subtle and less obvious behaviors of narcissism, right? So it's not going to look, if you see the diagnostic criteria of delusions of grandeur, it's often hard to see in a covert narcissist because they are continually being passive with their self-importance. They're not out there bragging. They brag covertly. Everything is hidden and masked. It's like they wear triple masks, right? They're masked and then they're masked again and then they're masked again to cover what the overt behaviors of narcissism. They tend to be more introverted, from what I understand. Introverted people, not always, but they tend to be. All right. Connie XXX. Wow. I would say, oh, you got a haircut. And he would say, why, do I look real great or something? Like he wanted the compliment. Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No kindness or caring, says Janae. It was just to take advantage of me and my ex-husband anyhow. She's right. This is right. So blame shifting, we said. Number 4 is disregard. They disregard pretty much anyone who's no longer happy, new, exciting supply. They disregard your feelings, your likes, they have this general sense of disregard for anyone, for everyone, really, unless it's something that they're really interested in that moment. I'm trying to help. I only care about your best interests. Oh, yeah. But at the same time, stabbing you in the back, right? The term is couching. Yeah, I think that's right. It's a weird word, isn't it? All right. Number 5, emotional neglect. They know exactly what you need because you've told them, because this is what we do in relationships with people. We tell them what we need and they refuse to give it. Right? I mean, I think that's all narcissists, but the way a covert will do that will look like they're actually giving it. For instance, spending a lot of time with you might be something you said you need. I need you to spend more time with me. What do we mean when we say that? What we mean is we want quality, happy, pleasant time with someone, right? Just the clock ticking isn't spending time with someone. That's just the clock ticking away while you're in the same place. Spending time with someone means you're actually with them. So a covert narcissist may spend their entire day at your house, and they may do things like 3 hours in the bathroom. Ask me how I know. Or spend their entire time playing video games and ignoring you. And spend the entire time. And then when you say, hey, it would be nice to spend time together, you could even say it sweetly. You can even say, you know what, it'd be really fun to go out together and do something together and like spend some time together. And as soon as you say that, they will neglect that emotional need that you're stating and counter it with, I just spent the entire day with you. Is that not enough? How are you disregarding everything that I do for you? They project it all over you. They flip the blame with projection and throw it at you like you just said the worst thing in the world. And in all of it, your emotional needs become neglected. I think the number one feeling of being with a covert narcissist, especially one that is not a name caller or overtly abusive in any way at all, like there would be no way to describe the abuse for some people. They only get the validation when they hear us talking about it. Other people who've been there, because there's no way to describe it to anyone sometimes. But this number 5, this emotional neglect, is a big one, because I think most people who have been through it, that's one of the number one things they felt. I felt emotionally invisible. I felt neglected. I felt like every time I stated a need, it would be negated, it would be refuted, the blame would be flipped onto me, and I would feel guilt and shame for even having that need. So there's that. Okay. All right. I didn't see this afternoon. If you want a deep personal emotional connection relationship with them, they want a shallow, impersonal, emotionless, disconnected relationship with you. Correct. That's exactly it. They want, I think I would take it one step further even and say they want to be in, they don't even want relationship. They want to be in the center stage of their own life, and they want to direct everything. And what they want from you probably depends on the moment, because I think what they think is deep is deep within toward them. Does that make sense? Like they want it all pouring toward them. So they want your depth, because I know a couple that want my depth. They want the depth. That's why they choose people who are deep and able to connect, but they don't want to give back. Maybe that's what you're saying there. They don't want to give back that because they can't. They don't have that to give back. It isn't there. They don't have it. They think they have it. They have it because they acquire it from other people, but they don't have it because it takes empathy to connect. It really does. It takes to connect fully with someone else. It takes being able to be accountable to the parts of yourself that are maybe needing work or whatever, and having empathy for that other person and the situation and yourself, and the whole thing. So yeah, number 5, emotional neglect. I'm sorry, I'm not reading here. Yeah, quality time with my ex-husband, narcissist, would play video games or D&D. No one understands covert abuse. It's really hard to even explain. And when I'm reading these, I'm having to recall from memory and then recall from what people said in order to get the understanding of it, even if I don't have all the words around it, because I mean, each of these topics we could talk an entire video, right? But I think it's about having the attention I never wanted. Attention. You didn't want attention. It's all about having the attention. And Frankendahl is saying emptiness. Yeah, that emotional neglect is it's probably one of the more severe things they do, I think. Okay. Let's see. They have a quiet smugness. Their smugness is not the same as an overt where they're gloating and, boasting and, smug and stuck up and completely arrogant of other people. A covert will do it in ways like subtle jabs, putting people down behind their back, always complaining about situations in a really subtle negative undertone. Their body language, the rolling of the eyes, the looking away, the disregard, that's the quiet smugness that they have. So there's that. Let's see. Never deep, productive communications, always surface circles. Exactly. That's well said, Daniel. That is exactly what it felt like. Let's see. Where are we? 7, self-absorption. Well, of course. All right. But really, the self-absorption is like a withdrawn self-centeredness. It's not, it's not the boastful overt. It's this withdrawn self-centeredness. I have to go into this. It's about me, the whole, they don't listen. Because of this self-centered, this self-absorption, they don't listen. They may listen to you during the love bombing period really intently because narcissistic people are trying to understand as much as they can really quickly to get all the information they need to groom you, right? I mean, maybe they don't know they're doing that, but that's the mechanism. That's what's happening. And they are looking for clues as to how to, with the grooming, they're looking for clues as to how to lure you in, how to create connection. That's how they might word it if they're have any level of reading of any kind of modern psychology, right? They might say, I'm trying to connect. trying to connect. But really what they're doing is reading to groom. So self-absorption, the not listening. When they're not listening, they are, they're shutting you down, right? And they're going turning toward everything has to be about them. So, all right. Never getting to the root of problems. And this is part of this, is because of the they're so absorbed in keeping things the way they need it to be, that how can they get to a root of a problem? It's not their problem. It's your problem. Right? Okay. We did marriage counseling, says Janae, and when the counselor told him he was emotionally and verbally abusive, and she said, it's not always, Janae, because you're a narcissist, he walked out. Oh, and said that it's not always, Janae, because you're a narcissist, he walked out. Of course. Yeah, you can't hear that, right? Anime says the long convo we had before no contact was 1 hour and 10 minutes of her feelings, her perspective, and her hurts. I contributed 3 incomplete sentences. Whoa, that's telling, right? Okay. Number 8, passive aggressive, the brush off, the subtle digs. They tend to be, again, they're not often. Sometimes they are verbally abusive as well. And so let me say, any of these traits, anything when we're talking about covert narcissism, overt narcissism, I think that it's more of the tendencies of the narcissist to be more covert. It doesn't mean that they do all these things or that they never show overt traits. I think in certain situations, because a narcissist wears a mask, each situation has its own version of them, right? So if they are really good at what they do at work, they may be completely overt. You don't know. You're not there. Or if you are there, then you see one side and the other side of them. Sometimes that happens. Like, whoa, they are really full of themselves when they are doing that, like a sport or something that they're really good at. And then when they're in relationship, they're a completely different sort of passive, emotionally passive, what do I want to say, victim. When they're in like a sporting event, they might be super aggressive and assertive and like full of themselves in that regard. So it's not that someone is 100% covert and they never show overt traits, or likewise, if they are overt, they may never show covert traits. It's just the tendencies of these more covert traits tend to be overlooked, and it can be really confusing when you're with them, because when you're with a more covert narcissist, most of these things that I'm saying here and other things are so hidden and so almost subtle that, again, it's really hard to even describe what's happening. It's more just how you feel. You feel crazy. You feel like you're with someone. You feel abused and you don't know why. Sometimes. So, okay, gonna keep going. All right. Number 9. What are we saying here? Frankendahl, overt at work and covert at home. Mine was physically abusive, full of rage. And that, again, not all narcissists are physically abusive and some are, right? So we have all kinds of things going on because people are complex, even if they have the same traits as other people, right? All right. They tend to be highly sensitive. Number 9, highly sensitive to any form of negative feedback. Let's call it negative. I don't even consider some of the things negative. Any kind of feedback that doesn't serve the egotistical mask, that doesn't serve the mask they're trying to present that they want you to believe they are. Anything that goes against that, anything that knocks them off their pedestal they've placed themselves up on and their seat of self-importance, anything that is questioning of them, anything that requires accountability, the sensitivity is so high that you say 3 words and that's it. The gaslighting starts, the blame shifting starts, the victim stance starts. It all spins around into completely confusing chaos. You're walking on eggshells because you don't know what you can and can't say, because everything you say is going to be a trigger at that point for them. Oftentimes they'll say, I'm triggered by that a lot, especially if they've learned, if they have gone to therapy with a partner, if they have done any sort of training for, like I know mine did nonviolent communication training with this X. And all that did is teach him language and what other people feel so that he could then respond to it correctly with the right words. But it didn't it's not going to implant empathy, right? It can't. So, yeah. All right. So highly sensitive to any form. You guys know what I'm talking about, how you can say the slightest thing and it's not even said in a negative tone. It could just be said in a, hey, whatever kind of tone. And it turns into a giant thing. Something that can be resolved in 3 words turns into 1 hour and 10 minutes of her feelings, her perspectives, and her hurts, right? Instead of something that could simply be resolved with a, wow, is that how you feel when that happens? Which is always our wanting, because what we're really wanting is, back to our number 5, our emotions to not be neglected. All right. So number 10, what does that say? False humility and victim stance. We talked a little bit about how that plays out with some of the other things, but that false humbleness and being the victim. That happens a lot with covert narcissism. And their feelings get hurt the second that they are questioned, right? It's really, oh my gosh, if you question me and say, Lise, why did you do that? And I say, oh my gosh, you hurt my feelings. Why do you talk to me like that? Then of course it's no longer about the thing I did. It's now about how I'm feeling, right? It's effective. It's toxic and it's effective. All right. Okay. Number 11, immature responses. Need I say more? Right? This is where we get the easily offended, no accountability, the gaslighting, the projecting. They're all just immature responses to, they're immature reactions, really, to situations that question and make them accountable. Question them and make them accountable. Yeah. Anime saying, how could you possibly think I would mean it in that way? Oh, yeah. Okay. So number 12, minimizing others' needs or pain. Similar to emotional neglect, but literally minimizing the needs of other people. And I'm not even talking about their primary source of supply. Anyone. If because of the lack of empathy, how can they have any understanding of someone else's needs or pain? And they minimize it by things. There's all kinds of ways of minimizing pain and other people's needs. I'm going to keep moving because there's quite a few more. Number 13, when you're in a relationship with one, this is true of any narcissist, but lopsided attention in the relationship. The needs for attention is lopsided. It's all about them, and then they give you crumbs. It's very, like any narcissistic relationship, it's transactional. So you will be rewarded. It's punishment reward based often. You will be rewarded for your good supply by receiving some crumbs of affection or some acknowledgement of something that you feel or some need met. And then we go back to I did that. How could you possibly say you've ruined the whole day by pointing out this thing? Because, so we go back to that. All right. Cutting my son's hair once, he kept saying, ow. And every single time she would say, that doesn't hurt. Yeah. Yeah. Forever wanting their needs to be serviced. Correct. Forever wanting their needs to be serviced. Forever wanting, yeah. So number 14, controlling in ways that look like they are being supportive. So you may say you're an artist, okay? And you do paintings. And you spend your time painting and you make these lovely paintings and you spend money on the paintings and the canvases because you have to, right? So you're in the paint rather, and the supplies. And they complain endlessly about the time you spend, for the crap that you paint, your stupid little hobby. They're putting you down about the money you spend, the time you spend, calling what you do. Maybe they don't use terribly offensive words, but it's enough where that they're devaluing what you're doing. So they devalue you, and then they'll go out in public, and as soon as someone sees your art, they praise you, and they give you the accolades that they should be giving you all along to, support your self-esteem. And because it's true, right? Because it is, lovely art or whatever. So yeah, in that way, they're controlling the whole thing. They're making it about them, number one. And yeah, so there's underhanded controlling that goes on, is what I'm trying to say. There's an underhanded controlling aspect. They have to control everything. That's narcissists for you. But something about the more covert ones, I feel like there's this, I think because it's covert, it's confusing the way they control and how many ways that they seek and gain control of people. Number 15, silent rage. We talked about this yesterday, the good old silent treatment. Covert narcissists are good at it. They love it. It's a favorite go-to for a lot of them. We talked about that for an hour yesterday, so go watch yesterday's video on silent treatment for more on that. All right, number 16, any narcissist this is true of, gaslighting. What does gaslighting look like, you guys, from a covert narcissist? I think there's a lot of blame shifting. Like I said, I think there is a lot of twisting of your words, a lot of word salad, a lot of, they all do this, but there's a way that it's done very covertly where you feel instantly like you are the one. The gaslighting's quick and swift. It comes out of nowhere because so it's like they're a rational person part of the time, and they don't show any overt, traits most of the time. And then all of a sudden they flip into this thing that is not able to communicate with you and is twisting your words, and you can no longer trust them. So there's the trust built and then the trust destroyed constantly in this loop. Okay. Anime says, I think the silent treatment also gives them plausible deniability. Oh yeah, that's right. Anime, you confront them and they can say, oh, I was just tired yesterday. Oh, with the silent treatment. I was just tired. I wasn't doing that. Or I just needed space to cool off. Well, we talked about that yesterday. That's fine for a short amount of time or for a duration. Everyone can, needs to give each other space to cool off, of course. That's not what we're talking about with silent treatment though, right? And if you've had it done to you, it's completely different. Disregard for your feelings. Yes. Okay. Anything else? What anyone wants to say? Daniel says, parasite could never stay on point. There we go. Thank you. Would end conversations or shift to something I was doing wrong. Yes. The blame shifting, ending of the conversations. Yeah. Okay. So number 17, highly wrapped up in their own interests. Anyone could be that. Sure. Anyone could be super wrapped up, and I'm wrapped up in my interests, whatever, but I don't devalue other people's. And I don't devalue people within that have the same interests that aren't as good, or that people, and I don't, like they devalue if you try and join that interest, they'll get competitive with it. Oh, the competition. Did any of you have one that's super competitive, that when you try to do anything with them, it was always a competition? I feel like that's also, there was one point here I kind of missed. I went over it too fast. The controlling of others. Okay. So they can do things like, say someone has knowledge of something and I don't actually know which category this comes up, but this came to me. So say someone has knowledge of something and they're saying, but it's like their knowledge. It's not fact provable. It's nothing. They're just talking. They're like, hey, this, and they talk about a thing. The some covert narcissists can, or I guess overts can do it too, but there's a certain way a covert will do it where they'll take interest in the topic that's being talked about and then try and disprove the person while they're talking about it. So they'll be putting the person down by disproving them, and usually in front of other people, in order to, it's sort of like posturing to gain power of the situation and have control of who's, the bigger dog in the, yeah. So does that make sense? Hi, Martha. Hi, Gwen. Okay. So there's that. All right. The extreme need for praise. All narcissists have an extreme need for praise. But the covert person will not necessarily, come on, give me the praise like that. It's a given that you should give them praise. And when you don't, their feelings get hurt and they start to devalue you and devalue you and devalue you until you're forced to give the praise through begging for them to forgive you. Does that make sense? Yeah. She would tell, I didn't know. She would say, I didn't know what I was talking about. Is that what you meant? I didn't have my sources right. Exactly. And it's not in a way to actually, because sometimes, okay, in that situation you're talking about, sometimes, and I don't know your situation, but I could picture a situation where it's not a fact-based thing. So there really is no way, there is no source, right? But they will find sources to, or things like, I can remember an argument about a color. I think we talked about that the other day in here, an argument about a color. Like, why couldn't I just be right about the color that it was? Why? I'm pretty good with colors. I can tell what color something is. It was ochre. Sorry, it really was. And no, it was mustard, according to them. And then we had to have a whole Google debate over the color. Wasting, when what it did was took away from the story I was trying to tell about something that was, the only reason I threw the color in there was to give imagery and like talk about it. It doesn't matter if I said that color or yellow, it doesn't matter, right? It was a specific shade of like, I had it in my head and I was thinking, is it ochre? Is it like a amber? I don't know. It's sort of similar to those two colors. And those two colors aren't the same. I think it was mustard. And so basically took my entire story I was trying to derailed me, and conversation lost, right? It's a smokescreen. That's right. Okay. Anyway, back to this. They do go out of their way for praise. They go out of their way for praise, and they do it in covert manners. Basically, you take an overt trait, like somebody saying, "Hey, I'm the best, don't you think? Oh, I'm so, I'm whatever. Like, I did this so great. Praise me. Why aren't you praising me?" And just flip it into something covert. It's obvious what it is. If you can see it, right? Someone saying, "Wow, well, it's like fishing for compliments, but more than that, right?" How do you describe this? You've all felt it. The need for praise. I saw it more in the devaluing, that it was during the devalue, I realized what was needed when this devaluing was for this person to be put so high on a pedestal that he is king of the world, and I'm not even worthy to kiss his feet. So once that was achieved, the devaluing could possibly stop. And it was during that cycle of devalue that I noticed if the praise was given, the devaluing would change. Didn't stop, but it was like kind of, you could see it feeding them when they'd get the praise. Not a pleasant experiment, but there was. All right. Number 19. What does that even say, Lise? Envious. They're envious of other people. And this is where I said they need to prove other people wrong, because they're envious of other people's knowledge. They're envious of other people getting attention. They're envious of any positivity that goes towards someone else and it isn't going towards them. They're envious of people's having birthdays, of people having fun, of everything. They're just envious. All right. Okay, number 20, last one for today. There's a lot more, but these are just 20 that I came up with today. Number 20, they help others for recognition. This is a special kind of covert narcissist. I tend to call them the altruistic, vulnerable covert narcissist. I don't know if that's a thing. That's what I call them. They are altruistic in that they help others. They may have jobs where they help others. They may even save lives. They may be part of a religious community where they're actually doing good for the community. Okay. They may be active environmentally or active in the community and actually be doing things toward, helping that community. And they do it for the recognition. Is that a bad trait? I mean, if it gets good stuff done, it's a good use of a selfish mind, right? However, it does flip into, it's just a way to see that somebody with a whole lot of traits that is super stealthy with their narcissism, but has a lot of these traits and others, and is gaslighting and is toxic in a relationship. If they're also helping others for recognition, the reason to see this, the only reason this matters is that it looks like empathy. And so it can confuse you when you're a survivor and you're with someone and they're out there saving lives and they're out there planting trees or whatever they're doing. And you think they have a ton of empathy. It's just me. It's me that they don't like. It's me. I'm the problem. Because look, they're out there helping people. Well, when you really break it down, they're out there for recognition. They're out there to prove to themselves and the world that they are this thing that they're pretending to be while they're doing that thing, which is helping. They're not doing it for some genuine need to help people, from some genuine place of care for other people or other situations. They're truly out there to be the hero. All right. So, and like I said, sure, it can be a positive use of their selfishness because it might get some good stuff done. But if you recognize it for what it is and you see it's not empathy that's driving it, it's not empathy that's even involved in this process, then at least you're not thinking it's only me that they're this way with, so it must be me that's the problem. And I'm not seeing. So yeah, you got to see the big picture and see it for what it is. Okay, there's 20. Anything else? We can add more. Any other signs of covert narcissism that you guys have that you want me to say out loud? Excuse me, before I end here. If I have a voice for this much longer. All right. Truly. You guys are quiet right now. Anything else? If not, we're going to end and I'll be back Thursday with something else. Anything you guys have going on that you want to talk about, any questions or anything that you need as well, please let me know. Hit me up. I will try to talk about it. Nope, not today. Okay, cool. So we'll end here. Oh, how do you know that they aren't being real with their giving? You can't know someone's intention. What you can watch is what they say about it, how they talk about it. Trying to think of a real life example of giving. So, okay. So one might listen to other people's problems. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. One might listen to somebody's with a problem and they might, a narcissistic person might hear the problem and look like they're sympathizing with the person and talking and they're really helpful and blah, blah, blah. And then they might turn around and gossip about them behind their back, right? That's one way to know that it wasn't real. Or they might, okay, so I think there are moral compasses inside of people, right? And sometimes what they want to believe that they are is the compass that they use. So they put on a mask to suit the need to fill the role that they want to play. And so when you see them, how much role playing they do in their life, you realize it's not coming from a place of empathy. It's coming from a place of serving the need to look like the thing they need to look like. Does that make sense? It's different than seeing some suffering somewhere and and acting from that place. I don't think we can know for certain another person's intent. Of course, we can't get in their head. But if you look at the patterns of empathy, how can somebody who enjoys pain in other people, who is sadistic and truly enjoys inflicting pain and watching pain, being around other people's pain, how can they help someone in pain from empathy? They can help from knowing that it's the right thing to do because that they're saving a life, because they've in their head somewhere that they're not, they don't want, what am I trying to say here? Like it's coming from a different place. It's not coming from the caring need to help someone else because of recognizing and having an empathic response to someone. I'm trying to think of good examples, and they're not coming to me about how they give, because there's not a whole lot that do that. Actually, there are a whole lot that do that. They may donate a bunch of money and then want their name on a plaque. That's a dumb example, but you know what I mean? Like they want the recognition. You see the recognition seeking, even if it's subtle. So if they aren't historically giving, then they're not true. Probably. Probably. Or if they're giving, but there's always the need for praise. There's always, somehow they end up with everybody talking about them for the rest of the night about what a hero they are, or or they brag about that one event. They're like, say they're a very covert narcissist, and they never brag because they're always minimizing their self-importance and then fishing for attention. So it's kind of goes back to that, like minimizing what they did, but then always talking about it. Like, why are you talking about that over and over again? If you're, instead of, I don't know, does that make sense? Like, why? I'm trying not to give too many like really telling examples here. Trying to be, okay. You get it? Okay, good. Because I'm rambling. All right. I think that's it. Anything else you guys have today that you want to talk about? You're laughing at me. Okay. They go out of their way for the praise. That's right. Okay. Good. All right. So I'll head out. Anything that you need, hit me up. You know where to find me. Leave a comment in any video, any questions that you have, or any topic that you want me to talk about. I will gladly make an attempt to discuss it on a further day. If you've not done so, hit subscribe. If you would like text notifications, text me at 33222. Put the word Lise Live, LISELIVE, hit send. I'll text you about 10 minutes prior to going live. And that's it. If you need help with anything, head over to queenbeing.com. And if you need coaching or group coaching information, check out the main comments of every video. There's a link to those things. And remember, I have 35% off through January 1st on one-on-one coaching. Okay, that's it. I think we're done. You guys have a good day, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I guess it's evening. It's almost dark. Have a good evening, and I'll see you Thursday. Goodbye.